There you go. Admin of code, day 5. Loading. Come across a field of hydrothermal vents. These tend to form lines. Submarine produces a list of nearby lines of vents. Each line of vents is a line segment x1, y1, x2, y2. Only consider horizontal lines. Lines equals stirs.map. Do s s.split p1, p2. X1, y1 equals p1 dot split to I. X1, y1, x2, y2. HV equals lines dot select L0, 0 equals L0, 1, 0, or L1, 0. L0, 1 equals L1, 1. All right, so there's our diagram. Top left corner is 0, 0. Bottom right corner is 9, 9. Each position is shown as the number of lines which cover that point. If no line covers that point, the number of points where at least 2 lines overlap. Intersection counts equals z hash dot new. All right, hv dot each do line xy one dot each do x y counts x y counts dot values dot count n dang it. Oh, okay. Three. Puts counts dot inspect. Puts line dot inspect. Puts xy dot inspect. X1, x2 equals x1, x2 dot min max. Holy cow. Okay, 5092. Oh, Okay, damn it. I forgot to hit the start button. All right, the timer is just for part 2 now. You also need to consider diagonal lines. True. 12. Oh. Dot zip y1. $15. Oh. If x1 equals x2 or y1 equals y2, else. Five, 2. Oh, damn it. Seven. Oh. Ugh. Dx equals x2 minus x1 over dx equals if x1 equals x2, 0, else if x1 less than x2, 1, else -1. x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1 dot map abs dot max dist dist times this is like 2 minus 0, yeah, so we'd want to do dist plus 1 times d x1 plus equal counts x y1 plus equals 1 Okay, there we go. Not very good. Let's go over this one. All right, day 5, hydrothermal venture. You come across a field of hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. These vents constantly produce large, opaque clouds, so it would be best to avoid them if possible. They tend to form in lines. Submarine helpfully produces a list of nearby lines of vents, your puzzle input, for you to review. For example, blah. Each line of vents is given as a line segment in the format x1, y1 to x2, y2, where they're the coordinates of one of the two ends. So now in part 1, we're only considering horizontal and vertical lines. These are our lines. And these numbers are the number of lines which cover that point, or a dot if no line covers that point. Need to determine the number of points where at least 2 lines overlap. And then basically in part 2, we are also going to consider the diagonal lines. And we are hopefully we know that the diagonal lines will only be 45 degrees. Let's see. I just want my part 1 stuff. Yeah, okay, that's the part 1 stuff. Yeah. x1, x2 equals x1, x2 dot min max. Lines. Okay, perfect. So we get our input of strings, and then we create our lines by looping over and splitting on dot arrow, and then x1, y1 are the part 1 split uncommon mapping to integer, same for x2, and then we return that as a line. Really, there's no reason I put these in nested arrays. It just made stuff more complicated. So our horizontal lines, helpfully we were told that those are the ones where x1 equals x2 or y1 equals y2. So we just check that. This is x1 equals x2 or y1 equals y2. Then we create a count. And so we loop over all of our lines. And we do this very poor iteration where we go from the low value to the high value for each of the two coordinates, knowing that one of the coordinates is the same, and so we'll only go through that iteration once, and we increment our counts. Because this is like 3.3 just gives 3 once. Then for part 2, we ran into issues that well, in part 1, we ran into issues where if x2 is less than x1, then the iteration is empty and it never iterates. So that was busted. That was a bummer. So in part 2, I initially had the same sort of strategy where I was going to use the same loop. But now both of these were changing, and so instead of looping over the diagonal line, I looped over the whole square, which was no good. So then I tried to just zip the two iterations, but then again I ran into the issue where one of them might be negative, and so the iteration didn't return any values. So I just said, all right, this is my change in x coordinates, which is either 0 if they're the same, or 1 if x1 is less than x2, or -1 if x1 is greater than x2, and then same for y. And then I figure out how long I have to go, which is basically like I take my two directions and I subtract the larger, or I subtract the two, compute the deltas in both directions, get their absolute values, and then take the max. Take the max because one of them might be 0. But if they're both non-zero, they'll actually be the same because we're going at a 45-degree angle. And then for that many times plus 1, we say that we visited x1, y1, and then we increment x1 and y1 to move in that direction. And then again, we just print out how many had multiple. So that, yeah, that was that. And we'll see roughly how long I took on that. 623 for part 2. 2040, 484, and 5092. Okay. Commit December 5th, 2021 solution.